Star Trek has always been about the future, not just the technology, but people. About individuals who believe cooperation is stronger than conflict, and curiosity matters more than fear. But Starfleet Academy asks a different question. What do those ideals look like before anyone earns the uniform? When I first saw the show announced, I wasn't convinced. It looked less Star Trek and more like a school drama set in space. After 6 episodes, Academy clearly wants to do its own thing. Whether it still feels like Star Trek, however, is more complicated. For decades, Star Trek has built around the idea of going out into the unknown and figuring things out along the way. It's kind of the go-to formula, and honestly, it works so well they never really had to change it. Deep Space Nine was a little different, still carried the adventure and heart of Trek, but most of the story took place on a space station rather than a spaceship. The interpersonal dynamics between the crew, along with the interstellar politics between factions, always stood out to me, and to this day, DS9 is still my favorite Star Trek series. About a month ago, a friend tagged me in a post, and I saw the first promo image for Starfleet Academy. My immediate reaction was that this probably wasn't going to be for me. I mean, how else am I supposed to read this image? It looked like any other teen drama, just with Star Trek uniforms, because why not? But like any Trek fan, I decided to sit through it. I made it through all 6 episodes so far, and my thoughts are mixed, which sounds like a very Star Trek answer. Starfleet Academy takes place in the 32nd century, following the events of Discovery, where the United Federation of Planets is still rebuilding after a galaxy-changing disaster known as the Burn. The galaxy itself has changed, planets and civilizations have become more isolated, and long-standing connections have weakened. The series follows a new class of cadets training at the Academy, now based once again in San Francisco. The biggest difference with Academy is its tone and setting. Most Star Trek series take place on a ship in deep space. The crew moves forward, encounters new problems, and leaves once the mission is over. There's always a sense of momentum. Exploration literally means moving on. The Academy works differently. Everything stays in one place. Here, conflict grows out of expectations, pressure, and the process of learning what it means to belong in Starfleet. The primary ship in the series is the Athena, which is unique, and an extension of Starfleet Academy itself. I actually found the dual purpose pretty neat. It makes sense from a practical standpoint, especially when cadets need to be deployed on training missions. The campus is modern and expansive, reflecting a Starfleet that's trying to rebuild while still holding on to its ideals. The bridge itself looks familiar, very much in line with the Abrams era design, bright, colorful, and sleek, just without the constant lens flares this time, which I appreciated, and no complaints when it comes to the Starfleet uniforms. The traditional color coding is still here, red for command, gold for operations, blue for sciences, and white for medical. The cadets, on the other hand, wear gray uniforms with a vertical stripe that designates their field of study, giving them a distinct look while still feeling consistent with established Starfleet design. The cadet uniforms look a lot better than what Wesley was wearing back in the day. And apparently, no campus is complete without Letterman jackets, because why not? The Chancellor of Starfleet Academy is Captain Nala Ake, played by Holly Hunter. Holly Hunter is a great actor, but every time I listened to her voice in Academy, all I heard was Elastigirl. Ake is a more free-spirited and unconventional leader. She wears glasses, sits in non-traditional ways, and frequently walks barefoot around campus. Between her bare feet and her relaxed sitting positions, Ake gives off the energy of someone who removed the captain's chair and replaced it with a beanbag. She feels less like a typical Starfleet captain and more like a coffeehouse manager, reminding her staff about teamwork, positive energy, and the importance of good latte art. As much as I appreciate a good latte, I'm more of a black coffee kind of guy. Ake may have a slightly too empathetic approach for my liking, but she handles herself well in crisis situations. And like any great captain, she knows when to stop listening and to start making decisions. That balance between empathy and authority ends up defining much of how the Academy operates under her leadership. Ake takes a personal interest in Caleb Meir, a human orphan with a rebellious past, bringing him into the Academy as part of a deal that commutes his prison sentence, a decision that quickly brings her leadership style into focus. Caleb serves as the protagonist and the audience's point of view character. Separated from his mother at a young age, thanks to Ake, Caleb grew up on his own, learning how to survive the hard way. He's a technical expert capable of hacking his way through just about any system, and he knows how to handle himself in a fight. Caleb cuts a deal with Ake to avoid prison and joins the Academy, using the opportunity as a way to continue searching for his mother. It's been 15 years since he last saw her, and it's clear he's willing to do just about anything for the chance to see her again. Ake sees potential in Caleb, while Caleb isn't quite sure whether to see her as the person who saved him or the one who changed his life without asking. And this is where Starfleet Academy becomes a little harder to pin down, because there are things the show genuinely does well. Visually, it looks great. The Academy feels lived in, the technology feels appropriately futuristic for the 32nd century, and the production design does a good job blending modern aesthetics with familiar Star Trek identity. Visually, it feels like Starfleet. The premise itself is also strong. A federation rebuilding after isolation, training a new generation of officers in a galaxy that no longer feels as connected as it once did. There's a clear intention here to explore growth before responsibility, and that's a perspective Star Trek hasn't focused on very often. Where the show struggles, at least for me, is in its tone. At times it feels caught between two different ideas. One wants to be a character-driven coming-of-age story, while the other wants to carry the philosophical weight people expect from Star Trek. And the balance between the two doesn't always land. Some conflicts in the show feel meaningful, while others feel smaller than the setting suggests. And because the characters are still learning, the drama occasionally comes from immaturity rather than circumstance. That makes sense for an academy setting, but it doesn't always translate well into compelling Star Trek. It feels like a series still trying to figure itself out. I just have to remember that this show might not be for me, but with an IMDb rating of 4.3 and an audience score of 44%, I'm just curious who the targeted audience is here. In any case, let's move on to the core group of cadets. There's Caleb, as mentioned earlier, Jaden, an aspiring medical officer who is breaking away from the traditional Klingon warrior stereotype, Genesis, first ever Darshaw to attend Starfleet Academy, Darum, first ever Kyonian to attend Starfleet Academy, Sam, first ever Photonic to attend Starfleet Academy, and Tarima, a Betazoid who possesses powerful telepathic abilities. As you may have noticed, there's a lot of first evers for this one class, and maybe the first Betazoid to make me wonder if I missed the memo about their eyes. As a group, the core students work well enough as a team. Certain moments genuinely capture that early stage Starfleet energy, people with very different experiences trying to work toward the same goal, while other moments feel more like individual storylines running alongside each other, rather than fully coming together. At this point in the show, they're not a real crew yet, but in time, they'll get there. Conflict is necessary and good for storytelling, especially in Star Trek, where challenges are usually what push characters to grow and rely on one another. I say this because I couldn't help but notice how easily conflicts were resolved in several episodes. Caleb can hack in almost anything. Darum can shapeshift to survive space. And Sam, well, I'm still not entirely sure what the limits of her abilities are, but she can turn the lights on, project images, power up a starship that's been inoperable for over a century, and search through millions of lines of code that would normally take years in minutes. I don't know whether to buy Sam a latte or complain that the physics in the show bends a little too easily around the plot. Part of the fun, though, is watching characters struggle their way through problems rather than having the universe solve the problems for them. But to be fair, Star Trek has always been a little absurd at times, and that's usually why fans embrace it. I just wish the characters had to push a little more before finally succeeding. Gene Roddenberry had a famous quote, "It is the struggle itself that is most important. We must strive to be more than we are." Do you know what I struggle with? The script. It's good to know that in year 3191, we as a society still use common phrases like,
"Like I said, I'm Kyonian, bitch."
Oh, you hell no!
The asshole always pops up early.
What did you say, you piece of shit?
They wipe your ass for you like your friends here do.
Is that even a thing? Yes, Dick, it is a thing!
I expected you to not use my family shit against me.
Asshole 1 to asshole 2, how we doing?
Pull your shit together, Darum, you're Kyonian, bitch!
Bow wow.
I guess I can watch the old Star Trek series on Netflix. Oh wait. That said, there are some highlights of the show. Out of all the episodes, episode 6 left the strongest impression. The cadets were split into two teams. One team boarded an old Federation ship, while the others stayed aboard the Athena to provide support. The episode introduced the Furies, a species of human-alien hybrids that project an after-image effect when moving. I thought it was pretty cool. The stakes were high, the action scenes were great, and even I didn't see the ending coming. It was good Trek. Also, Noose Braca, played by Paul Giamatti, stands out. He's sinister, calculated, and challenges Ake's Federation ideals beat for beat. His long-standing grudge against Starfleet gives Season 1 a strong sense of tension and helps anchor the larger conflict. And then there's Commander Jet Reno. I enjoyed her in Discovery, and it's good to see her again in Academy, this time serving as an engineering instructor. Her signature deadpan humor and very much done-with-it attitude helps ground some of the high-energy drama surrounding the younger cadets. And her presence adds familiarity that longtime Trek fans will probably appreciate. Starfleet Academy is a mixed bag. It's trying to create an experience before the adventure, the uncertainty, the mistakes. Some of it works, some of it doesn't. But Star Trek has always been willing to experiment, even when the results are uneven. In its current state, Starfleet Academy is a series still finding its footing, and depending on where it goes next, that could either become its greatest weakness or its greatest strength. As for me, I'll keep watching. It's not entirely my kind of Star Trek, but I want to see where it goes. Because every once in a while, underneath the school drama and the growing pains, you can see this version of Star Trek this show wants to become. And when it does, you can see why this universe has lasted so long. Thanks for watching, and as always, remember to save your progress. Live long and prosper. If you made it to the end of the video, please consider liking and subscribing. It really helps the channel. Thanks.